Can we please talk about just the UFC in general? There were no fights on last week, so I haven't got any terrible bets to wrap up. And yes, this episode is a day late because there happened to be a football match on last night, which went pretty well. I mean, I'm not usually a huge football fan, but I do love watching the international games. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk since the game about the penalty. And yeah, a lot of people, saying, was it, wasn't it? Look, I can say from a very objective standpoint that it doesn't matter. England won, they're in the final. Hey! I mean, football hasn't come home yet, but I mean, it's about 5 minutes out, like pending traffic. It's got its sat nav on, and it says, no expected delays. I mean, it could. I don't know. It's going to be a tough final against the Italians, but either way, going to be well fun. But I don't normally talk about that, about football. So we're going to talk about the UFC. Obviously, there's a huge event. If you're a UFC fan and you're not aware that it's Conor McGregor making the walk again on Saturday, then you're probably, you're probably not a fan. But there's been some stuff going on in the news this week, so I'm just going to quickly wrap that up, and I'll be making my picks on Friday, tomorrow, for the big fights on Saturday. So, without further ado, let's have a look at what's going on. So, one thing that has affected the fights this weekend is Sean O'Malley was supposed to be fighting Louis Smoker. Now, in fairness, now he's got a new opponent. What's his name? Chris Moutinho. Chris Moutinho? Yeah, anyways, it'll be his UFC debut. Yeah, so basically, Sean O'Malley has gone from fighting somebody ranked 42 to somebody who is ineligible for a ranking. Come on, Sean. You have to start fighting somebody sooner or later, don't you? I mean, come on. It's like, he's becoming the Michael Venom Page of the UFC, isn't he? Just a can crusher. He's great at crushing cans, but look, at the end of the day, I have no problem with him just smashing people, but he's going to have to fight somebody real sooner or later. I mean, the only person they put him against that was actually half-decent competition was Marlon Vera, and he lost that. He lost that fight, right? And he can go on all day about how, it was a fluke because that would never happen again. It's like, look, at the end of the day, Marlon Vera threw that leg kick with the intention to damage Sean O'Malley's leg. Sean O'Malley's leg was so damaged that he could not continue the fight. Ergo, Sean O'Malley lost. It was a TKO loss, right? Because the thing is, the ideal result of a leg kick is to cripple your opponent. If you can do that in one shot, perfect, right? It's the same as throwing a punch. If you throw a hook, your ideal result of that is to knock your opponent's sparko out. But how many hooks actually do that on a percentage for most fighters? Do you know what I mean? You have to set it up, and it's not always... But if you threw as many punches as you did kicks, the percentages would be kind of like comparable. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, he threw that kick with the intention of crippling Sean O'Malley, and he did so in that fight. Ergo, Sean O'Malley lost that fight. He is not undefeated. He's undefeated in his head, but he's not actually undefeated. He should win this fight at the weekend, though. Really, I mean, if he gets beaten by an unranked guy, that's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be problematic from a marketing standpoint, but. Let's just presume that Sean O'Malley gets through Chris Moutinho at the weekend. Who do you think next? Let me know in the comments. I would quite like to see O'Malley fighting Jimmy Rivera. I think Jimmy Rivera, he's had his ups and downs, but he's a very good fighter, and he's a very good test and a good indicator of where you are in that division. If you can hang with Jimmy Rivera and beat Jimmy Rivera, then yeah, okay, start throwing him some bigger competition, and then maybe I will kind of buy a ticket to the hype train that is Sean O'Malley. But until I see him beat somebody, I am going to stay on the platform right where I am. I'll read the paper, wait for the next one. Know what I mean? Anyway, moving on. We've got Chad Mendes teasing a comeback. Honestly, I did not realise he was retired. When did that happen? Can someone let me know in the comments? I have no idea. Please let me know when he retired. Did he leave his gloves in the octagon? I legitimately cannot remember when he did that. I know he got popped for steroids because he said that he he was asthmatic, or something like that. His asthma caused steroids, and then it was all fine. I don't know. So, I mean, let's be fair. Retirement these days, it's just another word for a bit of a long break. Do you know what I mean? Rumble Johnson came back. Gustafsson has come back twice now, and he's coming back again. Uriah Faber, Conor McGregor, GSP, they all came back. Do you know what I mean? They all retire and then come back and then retire again and then go and box and then come back again and then retire again. It's pathetic. If you're going to retire, actually do it. For God's sake. I'm so tired of this retired or not bollocks. Do you know what I mean? This is what I respect Khabib so far, because he has stuck to his guns and he's stayed retired, and I hope that he does. Do you know what I mean? Don't stop throwing the term retirement around so frivolously. The word is going to lose all meaning. For God's sake. Anyway. Chad Mendes, if he does come back, because I'll move on to this in a moment, but my dream matchup, I thought that they should make the Korean Zombie versus Edson Barboza. That is not happening, and I'll get into why in a few moments. But maybe now that that fight isn't happening, the Korean Zombie versus Chad Mendes, to welcome Chad Mendes back to the octagon. Because let's be fair, that should be a fun matchup. Both of them are fairly big names in that division. They both need to have a fight. It's a winnable fight for both parties. And let's be fair, Chad Mendes needs to be beating people like the Korean Zombie if he's going to be making another serious run at the title. And if he's coming out of retirement, it should be to try and make a run at the title. I don't want him to fuck about. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that maybe the Korean Zombie versus Chad Mendes, if they could do that later on in the year, if Chad Mendes really is serious about coming back and making a run at the title, make that fight happen. That could be pretty good fun. So as I just mentioned, my dream matchup, which I thought was a great matchup, by the way. Let me know if you feel otherwise. But I thought Zombie versus Barboza, I thought that made all the sense in the world. However, Barboza has got a new opponent. They've booked it for the 28th of August against Giga Chikadze. Now, that is also a really good fight. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that is not a fantastic fight, because on paper, god damn, that's a good fight. They're both kind of like kickbox heavy. They're both absolute savages. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be a stiff test for Chikadze, this, though. Don't get me wrong. He looked great against Cub Swanson, but Cub Swanson is not the fighter that he once was, and even when he was at his best, in his peak, in his prime, I wouldn't have put him amongst the elite of that division per se. No disrespect to Cub Swanson, he just never quite cracked. Like, he always got to a certain point and then fell, at the last hurdle. Does that make sense? I'm trying to say it in as respectful way as possible, because I'm a huge fan of Cub Swanson, but yeah, beating him at this stage isn't the same as beating him, say, 5 years ago. But style-wise, Giga Chikadze versus Edson Barboza is a wonderful fight. That is a fantastic fight. It should be fight of the night. Edson Barboza is involved in so many fights tonight because his style is so fun. Look, since the move to featherweight, Edson Barboza has looked extremely good. That split decision loss to Dan Ige, that could have gone either way. I thought that Barboza won that, if I'm totally honest. But then he beat the brakes off of Amir Khani, and he smashed Shane Burgos, not long ago. And I think that this is the right weight class for Edson Barboza. This is a different Edson Barboza that we've been seeing. He was clearly not. He wasn't faring so well at lightweight. He had some great wins, but he also had a lot of losses. But at featherweight, he's looking far more convincing. I think that this will be a tough one for Chikadze. I think that, because Chikadze, in theory, he likes to stand and crack with people. And if you try and do that with Edson Barboza, that could be a horrible night at the office for you. Real bad. Things could get real kicky real quick. And they could go from bad to worse to crippled. But fun fight. Looking forward to that. Another fight that has been made. Well, it's not been actually formally announced yet. But basically, they're looking at it for September. It looks like Nick Diaz, is finally making his comeback. I didn't realise his last fight was bloody 2015, man. That is crazy. Technically, he didn't lose his last fight because he was overturned to a no contest because of all them steroids that Anderson Silva was doing. God bless his soul. Been a hot minute for Nick Diaz, and so they've given him an opponent which I feel like is appropriate. They both want to do it, and it's a kind of callback fight. Love a good callback fight. Love a good throwback fight, because this is actually a rematch. A rematch from 2004. They're planning to put Nick Diaz in against Robbie Lawler. I thought Robbie Lawler, he deserves at least one more fight in the UFC before he hangs it up. And it was... He's looking for revenge against Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz came in and kind of took the sport by storm when, in about 2004, that sort of time, because this is a rematch from 2004, UFC 47 they fought, and Robbie Lawler was kind of being touted as one of the next big things, and then Nick Diaz came in just talking mad shit, just doing his usual thing of walking him down, just talking the whole time, really spectacular performance, and managed to get the knockout. And obviously Robbie Lawler wants some redemption for that. Nick Diaz, he's older now, he's had a long layoff. Robbie Lawler can't seem to buy a win these days. I think that this matchup makes sense because it's going to be a good send-off for either guy. I don't think that it would be a send-off for Nick Diaz. I think that this might be the start of potentially him being slightly more active. I don't know why I feel that way. I've just got a gut feeling. But don't get it twisted. If Robbie Lawler loses this, then he is done. He's finished in the UFC at the very least. He'll be boxing Jake Paul before you know it. And stylistically, it should be a really fun fight because, look, at the end of the day, I don't think either one of them are going to have to particularly worry about takedowns too much. I think they're both going to kind of stand. They're both going to, throw for the fences. Well, actually, not throw for the fences. Nick Diaz's style isn't that, to be fair. Nick Diaz will kill you with volume, but it's still fun to watch. And he will eventually get the knockouts because it's just kind of he just overwhelms you with so many punches that all of a sudden your brain gets confused and you just fall over. I think Frank Shamrock said something very similar to worse to that effect. And Robbie Lawler is going to be, hopefully he will pull the trigger in this one. I'm just hoping that, it'll be a decent matchup and a fun send-off for Robbie Lawler if it is his last one. And Nick Diaz can get in the win column, then who knows what will happen. But yeah, and if Robbie Lawler wins, who knows? Maybe he starts finding his rhythm again, because it just seems like lately he hasn't been pulling the trigger when he's been in the octagon, which has been... not brilliant for his levels of success later on in his career, but he is getting older. None of us are getting any younger. That is Father Time is undefeated. So let's move on to Troll of the Week. There are some funny ones here. So speaking of Sean O'Malley, Joey, I said, I alluded to the fact that he hasn't really, fought anybody. And this guy, literally, it was just a funny tweet. Literally, he just came out and just said, my pizza guy, he's shaking because he's going to be fighting Suga Sean O'Malley next week. And do you know what I mean? He's just terrified. It's just that's funny. That is funny because it's just what is it? Pizza delivery guy couldn't stop shaking and almost dropped my food today. The poor bastard is absolutely terrified about fighting Sean O'Malley next week. Basically alluding to the fact that Sean O'Malley fights nobodies like pizza guys. I'm not saying that pizza guys are nobodies. To be fair, they do a valuable service, right? And then next one, you've got Dustin Poirier. Because I always watch Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen does great breakdowns on YouTube. Absolutely love him. His picks have not been good this year, though. This year, his picks have been pretty terrible. And he picked Dustin Poirier to win this weekend. And it's just look, you got this picture of Dustin Poirier just looking terrified, PTSD, Vietnam flashbacks. It's Dustin Poirier after he learned that Uncle Chael picked him for his next fight. Woo! Yeah, that's a burn both on Dustin Poirier. Well, it's not really a burn on Dustin Poirier, is it? Let's be fair. It's a burn on Chael Sonnen. This was really funny as well. Baraka, I don't know if it's the real account or if it's been, I don't know if it's been docked or what, but I did see it and it made me laugh because a lot of people are rightly saying that statue that they made for GSP in his hometown looked a lot like Barack Obama, and people clearly sending Barack Obama this picture, and he's just sending back, stop sending me this shit for crying out loud. And I know, it just made me laugh. It's just so silly. Just so silly. Not a great statue. Not a great statue. But hey, he's got a statue, so it was a nice thing for his hometown to do, And then you've got MMA fans. This is one of my favourites because it's a Simpsons meme and it's ragging on Stephen A. Smith, and it's MMA related. What more can you want? So you've got the MMA fans in the background. That's Lenny and Carl and all those guys, and it's the episode where Homer's being like they're laughing at him for doing stupid stuff. Anyway, they're all waiting in anticipation. Stephen A. Smith is sitting in the chair. It's like, get ready, everybody. He's about to say something stupid. And you know what? He probably will this weekend. I don't know if he's on the commentary desk. God, I hope not. He says some absolute... I know that he says a lot of that stuff just to get clicks, just to make himself more popular. But it is mind-boggling sometimes. Some of the things he comes out with is like, do you watch this sport like at all? And I don't think he does. It's in all fairness. But yeah, so that is all the trolls of the week. That is all of the news. I'm going to be doing my fight picks tomorrow. Going to be placing some terrible bets. I'm going to see if there's any underdogs that I fancy having a little bet on. It's going to be a brilliant weekend of sport this weekend. So I hope that you all enjoy. And all of my social media handles are up there. If there are any matchups that you feel like need mentioning, that need to happen, if you feel like that any of my bets are absolutely ridiculous, please let me know. I love talking about this stuff. I love speaking into the void every week. And yeah, if you're watching on Patreon, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you want to show some support, feel free to join up the Patreon. Like, you do get early access to some of the episodes and extra bonus episodes here and there as well. It's a good time. We have a good time, but we have a good time here on YouTube as well. Either way, keep those odds long and those bets terrible, and I will see you soon.